Hey, Rory F. Stern here from RFS Digital Media, and have I got a case study for you? This is really a simple, straightforward process of taking cold traffic, stone cold traffic from Facebook with no warm up to webinar registration, to attending the webinar, to filling out an application for a strategy session. Many of you may know this as the high ticket sales process. And here is a great example of something we were doing for a client in the personal development space. That's really good to point out for those of you in the personal development space to show you really what is possible. And this is also a great example, period, in just being able to dial in your message to your audience and bring people to the webinar and get them to take action, to fill out an application, show up for a strategy session. Now, full transparency, there are a couple things that are wrong with this case study or missing from this case study. Number one, I'm going to show you why it is so critical to not change your URLs once you have traffic going to them. Two, if you absolutely have to change the URL structure in your funnels, that you notify your media buyer as soon as humanly possible, even giving him or her a heads up so they can prepare and make the shift ahead of time. And also what's missing here is we don't have proof of sale from the client because it was done on a strategy session. That stuff wasn't tracked. What I can report to you, however, is that the client did and actually let me back up. So first off, our initial goal when engaging in this process was to get webinar registrants for $10 or under. The next goal was to get strategy session applications for about $150 to $200, with the client being willing to pay as much as $500 for a strategy session application in the beginning to make sure the numbers work. The client was selling a $5,000 high ticket coaching program and was willing to pay $2,500 to make that $5,000 sale. So what's critical here is that going into any media buying relationship or collaboration with a media buyer is knowing your numbers and what you're willing to spend, and knowing that the first 30 days are going to be a lot tighter and more difficult than 60, 90, 120, and as we continue pushing out 150, 180 into a year. And most people tend to give up at the 30 to 45 to 60 day mark because they can't weather the storm. So let's go ahead and dig in. We're going to look at the account right now, and you're going to see we started this engagement on May 22nd, 2017. We start every account off at $150 a day, and when you start in the middle of a day, it gets prorated. Okay, so we did a lot. We had initially, I think, 15 ad sets, or let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that it? 9 ad sets? All right, we went out to 9 ad sets at $10 a pop and immediately got back results. Webinar registrants at $290, $869, $847, $824, $813, $278. Overall average CPL for the webinar, $6.77. I'd say we hit the $10 mark rather quickly. Let's look at the 22nd through the 24th of May 2017, just to be clear. And as we started to get more spend further out, we maintained it at $6.08 right there. You can see webinar registrant, 608. Let's look at the entire month of May, 22nd to the 31st. 249 webinar registrants at 552. If we look at all of June, you can see we generated 1,126 webinar registrants for this client at a cost per webinar registrant, CPL, of $568. Pretty darn good, right? $6,393.31 in ad spend to generate 1,126 qualified leads. Now, where were the strategy sessions involved in this? And mind you, this is only cold traffic. This is the cold traffic campaign. At this point, we're not doing any retargeting because we're building that retargeting audience of people who attended the webinar but didn't complete the strategy session call to action. Now, I said we're not able to fully track in this instance the webinar the applicants because a number of things happened. The client changed the URL pretty quickly on and didn't notify us. And what we had thought for a while through several discussions was that the pixel just wasn't firing properly. So the client kept updating us. Oh, I've got this many strategy sessions. I've got this one. I got another application. I got another application. So we will take a look at that in a little bit. But overall, our webinar, our application costs were $200 from the initial start, which again, remember, we were shooting for $150 to $200, and the client ultimately was willing to pay $500 in that first month. So again, let's go back to May 22nd to the 31st, and let's take a look at the results column. And you can see here we had 3 completed applications tracked at $1,374 in spend. Way too much, but that was misleading because, again, the pixel was changed and we were getting the updates. Now you'll see here we've got retargeting, and actually you can't see it, but this is something we eventually did get up and running and tracking properly once we figured it out. And we can go ahead and I'll just look at the lifetime of it right in front of your eyes. And we had 6 applications for $682 when all was said and done, which breaks out to, what is that, 100 and some odd? 682 divided by 6. $113.66. So you can see we came in and met our goals. Webinar registrants under, as you can see, we came in and met our goal. Webinar registrants under $10, applications under $200, under $150. So the possibilities are there when you get it going. And you can see here as well, we had 2,033 webinar registrants over the lifetime of this campaign at $5.64. Now, what's really exciting is what I found out is that the client wasn't just selling a $5,000 high-end coaching program. It was 3 months at $5,000. So one sale paid for all of our traffic, all of our testing, and came pretty darn close to breaking even with our ad spend, with our ad spend plus our management fee. Because as you can see right here, $12,000, the client did $15,000. So he broke even on ad spend and came close to breaking even with our management fee, but our management fee, did put him into the red, but that was one sale. Imagine if he had 2 sales. Now you may be thinking, if this worked out so well, what happened? Great question. The client unfortunately got sick, and health comes in and takes a priority, as I'm sure you understand. So unfortunately, we had to shut this down, and there was no way at the current time when we found out about the emergency health crisis for us to help him build out a sales team, which I would have loved to have done. But at that point, this had crept up so suddenly, so unexpectedly, and shook him to the core that we just shut things down. And it still breaks my heart because, as you can see right now, the numbers are awesome. The numbers are just great, and there is a way to make this work. So major lessons here is, honestly, number one, you have to know your numbers going in, what you're willing to pay. Those numbers might be higher, and it's good to have higher numbers and therefore lower expectations for the first 30 days. We knew our webinar registrants, we needed to be under $10. We knew our application that we wanted to be under $200. We knew we wanted to sell high ticket, and that was a lot on the client's end, right? Which we did work with him quite a bit to, institute the right follow-up sequence for emails, to institute the right emails to get them and reminders to show up for the strategy session. We did work with him to look at the numbers of the webinar and where we could improve, and was it right to sell a product, which is what we were working on before he got ill. Was we were going to switch to sell a product, $2,000 training, which then of the $2,000 buyers, we would then offer them the strategy session to get more direct coaching. So know your numbers going in, know that you're going to have to test, and ultimately on the sad side of things, know that you really want to build systems and processes in place for your business. God forbid something does happen. Not a lot of us think about that, and it is heartbreaking to talk about it, but that is an unfortunate side effect of, or unfortunate byproduct of this case study. So any questions, let me know. If this is something you'd like us to put into place for your business, I'd love to speak with you about how we can make that work.